Today we're going to be looking at 15 must-start players for Week 1. We're going to go game by game, look at the game scripts, and try to find the easy start player from each game. This is more of a process of just looking at how the game's going to flow and see what this game is going to deliver for us from a fantasy football perspective. Also, since we're not covering all the players, drop your start-sit questions in the comment section below. I'm in a good position to help you guys out, and I think the comment section from this video and in the sneaky start video that I'm going to be dropping here in the next few hours are going to be good avenues for you guys to drop your questions. Also, you need to hit that subscribe button. Stop missing out on this content because I'm helping you with the waiver wire. I'm helping you with deep dives on these players, these lesser known guys, so you can make a decision on them as you get to know them. And I'm helping you start some players and look at the matchup, helping you with DFS as well too, because we're going to talk about that today as well. But let's dig in. Let's start looking at these matchups here. First things first, Jacksonville Jaguars at the Indianapolis Colts. So we're on the road to Indy. Anthony Richardson starting his first game. The over-under, 46.5. So they're expecting an average amount of points being scored. So it's not going to be super high scoring, but they're not expecting it to be low scoring as well. The Jaguars are expected to win by 5 points. That could be more than that, though, because if Anthony Richardson gets the rookie blues to start things off and has some turnovers, this game could get ugly in a hurry. It also could be a slower paced game as well, which means it could hit the under. That game could hit the under on us, but it could go off its rocker as well if the Jaguars just start moving the ball, if Indy does have some turnovers, if we face the rookie blues. That being said, thinking about this game script and the possibilities, we're going to be looking at Calvin Ridley. I think he's going to get targets. I think he's going to be used in the passing game. I think they're going to want to use him. He's going to be out there running routes. He should have near 100% route participation rate. But most of all, my take for this game, it's going to be slow. It's going to be ugly. And it might be really ugly, but it could go off its rocker too. Because I can make a story how this game script could break due to Anthony Richardson throwing on some bombs or some turnovers because of the rookie blues. But again, I feel all right starting Calvin Ridley this week. I think he's going to get plenty of opportunity, and throwing the ball is one way they're going to be able to score some points. Next matchup, Bengals at the Browns. And I think this is going to be a fun matchup to watch. I think it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to be a fast-paced game. I think we're going to get multiple guys contributing in fantasy from this matchup. I think this matchup's going to dictate some matchups here in fantasy football. 47.5 over under here. They're expecting this to be more of a higher scoring game. We're pushing 50. So that means we're going to see the ball move around. It might hit the under, might hit the over. Really depends on how the defenses play their part. But both of these teams got some offensive firepower. That's interesting to see here. Also, the spread's pretty tight. So we're expecting a tight matchup. So they should be going back and forth a little bit in this game. So everybody's really at play here. Everybody's at play here, so we're going to keep her easy. We're going to go with Nick Chubb. He's expected to get 75 rushing yards per the prop here, so he's going to be somewhere around that range, because if he was a little bit too low on that, then people would be betting over. If he's a little bit too high, people would be betting under. So they're expecting him to get a fair amount of rushing yards, expect him to catch a couple balls, one or two, a couple checkdowns, but nothing too crazy. But as they get in the goal line, he's going to get opportunities. He's going to get rushing opportunities as well. He's RB4 for the week. You're starting everybody in this game, really. Starting Chase, starting Burrow, you're starting Amari Cooper. You're starting everybody, really. Anybody is healthy, running routes on the field, getting snaps, you're really starting them. All the key players, the ancillary wide receivers are playing matchups with in DFS. This is a game you create stacks for in DFS as well. Stack a quarterback and wide receiver, get the wide receiver 2 in there, get a run back piece from the other team. And this is an offensive game script that I really like. I think you're going to catch a lot of fantasy contributors from this game. Next, Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Minnesota Vikings. And over-under set at 45.5, which is on the lower end. I look for Tampa Bay to be a little bit of a slower-paced team, but I also could see the turnovers running ragged here. I look for Minnesota to up the pace, and Tampa Bay is going to have to try to keep up because they were 7th in pace last year. That's going to be interesting. Plus, they're in Minnesota. I look for Minnesota to win this game pretty handily. I look for them to really kill the spread. We got a 5.5 spread on this. I look for Minnesota to beat that. Honestly, I look for Minnesota to really dominate this game. And you're going to want some Vikings. You're going to want some Vikings, and we're going to have a couple of Bucks here surprise us as they're trying to run it back and keep up with these Vikings as well. But the over-under here is okay. It could break that. It could go over, but it could go under as well. If Tampa Bay's slow, they turn it over. Vikings get up a good bit, and it just stays slow, and you get like a 40-point game or something like that. However, I look for Alexander Mattison to be pretty safe this week. I look for the Vikings to be up. I look for them using him in the run game to slow down the pace. I look for Justin Jefferson to be good. I look for the Vikings offense to be pretty safe. And I think we're going to get a couple run back pieces with the Bucks as they're trying to keep up with the pace of the Vikings until the Vikings just wear them down. Alexander Mattison is got a prop of 55 rushing yards, which is fair. Ranked as RB 13 for the week in fantasy. That's all right. I think he's got a good matchup, though. I think he can really beat that ranking as well if this game script goes his way. Next game script, Tennessee Titans at the New Orleans Saints here. 42 over under. They're expecting a slower game. And honestly, we're at the Saints here, and they may move the ball more in the air. This could be a higher scoring game. However, the Titans were 4th slowest in pace last year. They like to run it with Derrick Henry. This could be a chance where we do see a slower game. It could be sticky, or it could be a higher scoring game, and the Titans have to try to keep up. And plus, Derrick Henry can run off the rails too on long gains because we've seen that in some matchups. The thing about this is I think Derek Carr is going to spread it around a little bit. Alvin Kamara is out. Kendrick Miller's dealing with an injury. We have Jamal Williams there. They're probably looking to game script the passing attack here. They're probably going to push it with the passing attack here because they got the weapons to do so. Therefore, I like Chris Olave. He's got 65 yards on the player prop per DraftKings. This is all from DraftKings, by the way. Derrick Henry, too. Derrick Henry, definitely, but he's too easy. Chris Olave, wide receiver 13 in rankings this week. Should be an easy start. I think no one's really fading him. No one's fading many of these players considering it's week 1 and things are pretty set in stone. But again, matchup dictates here that the Saints are probably going to push it downfield considering the injuries they're dealing with at running back and the suspension. So let's look at Chris Olave. Next matchup we're looking at Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. 44 over under. Might be a slower paced game. Texans might want to be slower paced to keep things easier for Stroud and run it a little bit. The Ravens are a slower paced team. Even though they got Todd Monken, they're still going to run some clock because of the run game. They like to throw it to the tight end as well. This is going to be an interesting matchup to start the season. Odell Beckham is hurt right now. Saw that come out. Will he play? Will he not? We're going to have to watch that. But we're going to smash the button on J.K. Dobbins. 57.5 player prop on him for the yardage total. Look for him to get some volume. Look for them to be up on the Texans. Look for them to have a game script where they're running on the back half of the game anyways to really control the clock. RB 17 for the week. He's explosive. He can pop off on any given week. When he was healthy last year in the back end of the season, he was giving you some production. This is a good matchup for him. This is a very good matchup for him. So if you have J.K. Dobbins, you're thinking about him, this is a good matchup here. Next matchup, Carolina Panthers at the Atlanta Falcons. 39.5 over under. There's a chance we beat that and we're in the 40s. Because this team, the Falcons here, can push it downfield a little bit. But the Panthers want to control the clock. We got a rookie quarterback here. We're emphasizing that we want to use Miles Sanders a lot. So things could be interesting here. But I look for the Falcons here to push it downfield a little bit because they do like to throw them air yards deep because we saw that with Drake London last year. However, you're not sitting Bijan. This is an easy one. They're going to use him in the run game. They're going to use him in the pass game. He's going to be explosive. They're going to get some tread out of those tires this week. I'm starting him. RB7 for the week in fantasy in the rankings. Bijan no matter what. Because I think the game script is going to be benefiting him whether they're ahead or losing. Because if they're losing, they're going to use him in the passing game. If they're ahead, they're still going to use him in the run game. Even though they got Tyler Algier there. Next, Arizona Cardinals at the Washington Commanders. You really don't want anybody from this game. You do not want many players from this game. 38 over under. Vegas is telling us like, hey, pump the brakes here. This isn't going to be a great one. We got a spread of Washington Commanders winning this one pretty big of 7. 7 to double digits means that team is expected to kill the other team. But you do have to pick somebody. There will be players here that will produce fantasy results. Let's look at Jahan Dotson here. 41 yardage total on the player prop. That could go up and down considering I pulled this all yesterday to make this. Wide receiver 19 for the week in fantasy. Honestly, he could lead the team in targets and yards. He can lead this game in targets and yards and still give you wide receiver 2 numbers, wide receiver 3 numbers because this is a slower game. But if you're going to pick a player, pick him because Terry McLaurin, he's coming back hurt. I don't know what's his status. I imagine it's going to be a game time thing because of that injury suffered in preseason. But Dotson's been looking good and he commands targets. Next, Niners at the Steelers. I've been looking at this game script, trying to think about this one a good bit. They got a 41.5 over-under on this. The thing about this game script, I could see this game going nuts. I can also see this game being slow. One, you got Pickett there. You can go slow. You got some good running backs. You can make sure things are set. We got the start of the season. Same thing with the Niners. You got Christian McCaffrey. You get the ball in his hands. You're running a little bit more. You're slinging out to the flat a little bit more. You got Debo who gets some short targets. Clock starts moving slower, and next thing you know, you got a slow game. But this game could go off the rails too. So this makes this game risky, but yet possibly very fun. So we're really going to be dialed into this one. Spread's pretty tight too, as we're on the road to the Steelers. But we're going to be picking Christian McCaffrey because he is the safest player when we think about this game script. This game script could go nuclear. This game script could go crazy where George Pickens goes off, Deontay Johnson goes off, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, they go off. Everybody could be going off in this game, or it could be very slow. That is the take. That's the take. We talk about the player, but the take is this game could be very ugly, or it could be amazing. And that's the thing about this game. But Christian McCaffrey, safest player on the field because that's just super easy call. Next, Eagles at the Patriots, 40.5 over-under. They're playing safe with the over-under total because this could be a slower-paced game because the Patriots like to be slow. However, it could go off the rails because the Eagles can move the ball. They got a lot of playmakers there. They're expected to win this game. Got a decent spread. They might beat that spread pretty good if Mac Jones isn't firing. But we're going to roll with A.J. Brown because this is a hard game to predict due to the impact of the game script here. Might be a slow, ugly game. But Brown's good to pop off for a few catches downfield, some targets. Should see a good target share. And you want to go after your alphas in a slower game script because they have the most opportunity to pop off. Next, Packers at the Bears. 42 over under, another tough game script to predict here because the Packers might be a little bit faster paced, but there are a lot of indicators saying that they could be a slower paced team as well, maybe to start out the year. But I know Love likes to throw the deep ball. Also, the Bears, fascinating team right here. We got DJ Moore now. A lot of people were down on Justin Fields going into the season. He's an easy start due to the rushing attack, but we're staying away from quarterbacks. I didn't say that yet because a lot of them are really easy to predict. Also, the start-sit questions cover more wide receiver, running back. So let's look here, and we're going with Aaron Jones. Look for him to get plenty of opportunity in this game. I don't like the game script. He's RB7 in a week for fantasy. He might be lower than that in points output, but it's a really hard game to call. Look for DJ Moore to get some targets. Look for Jaden Reed to pop off in this game because of the injuries at wide receiver. The injuries at wide receiver here for the Packers might cause them to run a little bit more or toss it to the running backs. He's used in the passing game a good bit as well. That could allow him to get a couple extra catches, increasing his value in fantasy for this week. Next matchup, Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. 46 over under. So they're being safe here, but it's one of the higher point totals for the week. So we got to look at this. We could see this game go off. It could be slower pace as well due to the Rams losing Cooper Kupp and them having to slow things down to really hold command. But I look for Seattle to really run rampant here. I look for Seattle to get the win here and do good things. I like the wide receivers, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. They're both good. They're both similar in rankings, wide receiver 14 and 15. So either one you can start. Look for them to get air yards. Look for both of them to command targets. Both of them should have over a 20% target share. Next, Miami Dolphins at the Chargers. This is our money game in DFS. If you're in a huge tourney, you want to pluck players from this game, but you don't want to really overstack yourself either, because a lot of other people will be playing players in this matchup. We got 51 over-under point total. A lot of gamblers, a lot of DFS players are looking at that as they create their lineups for the big tournaments. The spread's pretty tight. This should be going back and forth. Chargers should win this one considering they're at home, and they're kind of the more veteran team here. Looking at this, Austin Eckler, easy start, easy money, RB1 for the week, but you're starting everyone in this game. You're starting all the top players, all the top running backs, all of the wide receivers. Anybody's touching the ball multiple times in this game, getting a lot of snaps, you're starting them. You're looking at them at least, because there's a lot of opportunity in this game script. Next, Raiders at the Broncos. This game could be very ugly considering Jerry Jeudy's hurt, but might be on the comeback. He might be on the field, probably more likely week 2, week 3, but he is practicing. Look for the Broncos to keep it slow, run the football, but yet toss it deep. Look for the Raiders to use Josh Jacobs and pound him out. Should be a slow game script. Shouldn't be too many players popping off, but it should break for a player or two, and a player it should probably break for Josh Jacobs. Going to get a lot of opportunity. They're going to run him to death this year. Look for him to get a lot of touches until the wheels fall off. They got an implied point total, yardage total on the prop at 70 yards. One of the highest running back props out there. Look for him to go off this week. RB9 in the rankings due to the game script, because it could be so slow on both sides. That's really hard for any of these fantasy players to really go off, like they're running in mud in fantasy production. But Josh Jacobs could go off this week. Next, Cowboys at the Giants. This is another money matchup here. And if you're creating tournaments, this might be a matchup you want to look at, but I think a lot of people are going to be looking at it as well. Might be overexposed. 46 over under. This game script could go either way since it's a huge divisional matchup. They could keep it slower. They could be fighting it out. It could be nasty. Or fast-paced scoring. Both sides. This is going to be a fun one to watch no matter what, though. Here, we're going to go with Darren Waller. Look for him to get a ton of targets. Might be the top receiving option on this team. You're definitely starting him this week. Tight end 4 for the week. Starting everybody, though. Starting all the top players. Lamb, Barkley, Pollard. Anybody else, depending how deep your league is, you're probably starting from this game, and you're also getting a lot of great DFS stacks. Now we're going to the Monday night game. Bills at Jets. Over under 45.5. This one might be tight. We got to see what Aaron Rodgers does here. He does operate at a slower pace. Might slow down the game script. But the Bills like to push the ball downfield. Plenty of air yards. This could go nuclear. This will be a fun one to watch. This game's almost like a science experiment. That being said, we're going with Garrett Wilson. Bills pushing the ball downfield. Bills moving the chains. Jets have to keep up. Their best run back piece, Garrett Wilson right now. In the passing game, especially, the game script breaks a little bit. So look for him to get some opportunity. Plus, you're not benching him anyways. So he's a player you don't have to sweat. You're starting him. But those are the 15 must-starts from this week. Mainly, we're looking at game scripts, and we're letting you know what we should or we're expecting from each game from a positive light for fantasy. We're also going to be doing the sneaky starts. That's going to be another video that's coming out in a couple hours here. You want to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that. And we're going over the players from each game who could exceed expectations, break out. Those players that we're really not starting, but are on waivers, on the back end of our rosters, who might be sneaky. You're probably not starting them, but you do need to know that for the other part of the game script. Those guys, those wide receiver 2s, those backup running backs who might get some added opportunity. And also this helps you with those deeper leagues. This also helps you look at players down the road when you're looking at waivers, when you're looking at moving players around in trades or whatever. That's very important, and these videos will be more important for you later down the road in a few weeks when waivers get hot, injuries get hot, bye weeks get hot, and the start-sit decisions get a little bit harder. Also, drop your start sit questions in the comments below, and I will answer them throughout the weekend in this video and in the sneaky start video. We're doing that this year. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.